Hey everybody, welcome to Wood with Handles, a baseball podcast for fans by fans. This is episode 9 for the week of June 10th. I'm Ryan.
I'm Josh.
I'm Carl.
We've got a lot to get to this week, so we're going to jump right into it. The biggest news this week was the PED biogenics scandal. Basically, Tony Bosch came out, and he is going to release 20-plus names of people who he has treated at his clinic in Miami, and essentially Bud Selig is going to suspend all of them for 100 or more games.
Yeah, this is a very bad deal for the MLB. They're going to look at it as a good thing, but I mean, for the overall sport, it's really terrible. Like you said, 20-plus names, some of them including Ryan Braun, A-Rod, a couple other names were Johnny Peralta,
Gio Gonzalez.
Although they said he was apparently cleared, so
Melky Cabrera's on it too. Even after he was caught and cleared, all that bullshit. I'm going to completely disagree with you. I think this is a great thing for baseball.
I don't know. I think it's kind of a bad thing because it's like it's hearsay. You're going to suspend players on hearsay? I mean, I would like some physical evidence besides his list.
It's got signatures, and I mean, he's got blood samples, and I mean, it's a medical clinic. He's going to have tons of information. I mean, it hasn't been released to us yet, so we don't know. So right now, yeah, it's hearsay. But when that list is released of 20, looking at about 22 people right now, I mean, it's going to be more than just a piece of paper that he's presenting. I mean, these are documents from his clinic, and I'm assuming if it's any kind of facility in the 21st century, it probably has security cameras, so he probably has footage of these people coming in there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a little bit more than hearsay. I remember I tweeted it, but a few months back, I think it was in March, that they've been doing research on this thing for a long time. So I don't think Bud Selig and MLB and everybody else is going to move on it until they've got some solid concrete evidence and some things to go on. So I think it's a little bit more than hearsay. And like Josh said, there's going to be evidence. There's going to be people that are going to come out. It's going to be a huge trickle down effect. Obviously Ryan Braun and A-Rod right now are the two biggest names, but there are apparently other names that had code names, and I'm sure they're going to be pretty huge names, which Tony Bosch said he's going to decipher. So I think you're going to see some big names thrown out there. But I mean, what do you guys think on A-Rod and Ryan Braun in general?
Well, I think the thing is, though, okay, if he has all these names and he has all this evidence, this hard evidence, how are you still going to suspend someone even though they passed your drug test?
Well, they haven't passed their drug test. I mean, Ryan Braun failed a drug test, and he got by on a technicality. A-Rod is admitted to taking steroids, and he's quote-unquote now clean. I mean, these aren't people who have passed it. We're talking about Melky Cabrera, who was suspended for drug tests. I mean, these people haven't passed these tests.
Right, okay, so Melky was suspended for it, so he should be suspended again?
He's going to get suspended again.
He's going to get suspended again if he's done it since. He's paid his time for the first one. But what these documents are allegedly saying is Melky Cabrera has since taken steroids.
Since his suspension?
Yes. That's what the documents are saying. I mean, something that I'm interested to talk with you guys about more than anything is, since the very first episode of Wood with Handles, since episode 1, we have talked about steroids. And since episode 1, all three of us, and basically the majority of our guests that we've had on, that we've talked about it with, have agreed that steroids really don't alter the game. We don't really care about steroids. And I still stand my ground. I don't care. I don't really think they changed the game. But does any of this bother you? Like, for me, I am really bothered by the A-Rod and Ryan Braun. I want them gone from baseball. I want them Pete Rose level banned. I mean, I think what Pete Rose did was way less despicable than what these guys are doing, because these guys lied. They said they didn't do it, or they're saying they are clear, blah, 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 and now they're getting caught on their bullshit. And I mean, Ryan Braun still to this day, he released a press release, I think like yesterday or the day before, I stand my ground. I didn't do it. Blah, 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 blah. He was caught before. He was caught on a fucking technicality because the FedEx driver didn't package the thing right.
My only thing that gets me going is the fact that, baseball turned such a big blind eye to this, and now they're trying to make up for it. It feels like, oh, well, we allowed this to happen. We better do something about it now after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
and that's what bugs me. I mean, I don't care that anyone did. I mean, I don't care, but, baseball turned the blind eye, and then it comes out that they were doing it, and it's like, we better do something.
Yeah, I don't like that these people are, not these people, but specifically A-Rod and Ryan Braun have been the face of this, and they are so adamant that they didn't do anything. And we won't really know until it's publicly released, but I mean, it's sounding like clear as day that they are both on this list and they were both taking and are still taking steroids.
Yeah, see, Josh, I kind of agree with you. I guess not so much about Ryan Braun because I could really give a shit about Ryan Braun, but A-Rod is, for me, he's probably one of the worst human beings that I think he's probably the worst human being that, I guess I don't know him, but he's a pretty terrible person. He's lied many, many times. And there's actually, I don't know if the story's true, but apparently he tried to buy evidence and destroy it. So if that's true, it's a pretty bad deal. He's lied a lot. I mean, at this point, do you kind of even say, hey, does A-Rod even have an honest bone in his body? I mean, has he played his whole career honest, or has it been under total bullshit and lies?
Well, I'm sure it's been under bullshit, but like the thing that I go back to is like, I know Carl's very passionate about Pete Rose, and I agree. I think Pete Rose should be allowed to be in the Hall of Fame, and
what Pete Rose doesn't hold a candle to what these guys are doing, honestly.
And I mean, the thing is, for me, it's the lying. Take steroids if you need to take steroids. You do your thing, but don't tell me you didn't do it. Don't tell me that you're innocent, or don't tell me you changed your life. You didn't know it was illegal before, but now it's illegal, so you're not going to do it anymore. And then go ahead. You're bringing up legality. The thing is, it wasn't illegal until when? 2005? Yeah, but that's when A-Rod came out. What? It was 2010 that he did that big press conference, the famous one where he was like, "I was doing it, but now." No, that was actually. I think it was actually. Was it last year even? I don't know when. Well, either way though, I think he was saying though that he was doing it in 2003. That's exactly what he was saying. But what these documents are apparently saying is he was doing it now. That's the difference. If A-Rod is telling the truth, if it comes out that A-Rod only did it in 2003, then it became illegal and he said, "I'm good," then I'm okay with him. You didn't do anything wrong. But I guess before we make any judgment, I guess we'll have to wait for the evidence to come out, which is going to take a long time. Yeah. So wait, here was Bud Selig's whole reasoning. The 100-game suspension. Every player who's apparently in this list and implicated in these lists is going to get 100 games. The first 50 games is for the actual use, which is already a rule. Yep, and then the second got last year. Yep, the second 50 games is going to be essentially for lying to MLB. To lying to whoever they did and that's going to be the second 50 in the 100 games. So I mean. That's bullshit because, you banned Pete Rose for lying to MLB. Is it really, though? I mean, is it really bullshit? I mean. Yeah. You're going to ban a guy for life for lying to MLB, but you're only going to say, oh, you got to miss, a third of a season for lying to us. But honestly, when Rose got suspended, it wasn't under Bud Selig's watch. It was before that. That's true. I know. But Carl, your argument is exactly what I'm trying to say. They're lying, and someone like Pete Rose can't manage a team. He can't go into the Hall of Fame. Someone like Barry Bonds, we put an asterisk next to all of his achievements. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. Yeah, all these guys. Rafael Palmeiro. Yeah, we have to put asterisks next to their name because they openly used steroids, blah, 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 blah. Barry Bonds was going to have to do jail time because he lied, but these guys... But he lied to Congress. Big difference there, though. Well, yes, very, very true, big difference. But still, there should, in my opinion, there should be bigger implements to it. And you know what? If it's first conviction for someone, like Melky Cabrera, I think should get in a lot of trouble if he has since done it since being suspended. A-Rod, to me, should be banned from the game. Ryan Braun should have a much larger suspension because he's bold-faced lied to us as fans and the media many, many, many times. Okay, two things right there hitting on what you just said, Josh. First of all, Melky Cabrera, he dug his own grave. If this is his second suspension, who in their right mind is going to pick him up now? Once that contract is gone with Blue Jays, with the Blue Jays, if it even still is there, I mean, who knows? They could try and void his contract if they will. I doubt it, but he's essentially digging his own grave because he may get more than 100 games, seeming that this is his second.
I mean, he could essentially be banned for a whole season next year.
You know,
and then A-Rod, the funny thing with A-Rod, it brings up a whole debate is, will the Yankees try and void his contract? I mean, technically, if this comes down and he gets the 50-game suspension and another 50 for lying to Congress, and they find out that, yeah, he did try and buy evidence and then destroy it, is that enough of a third conviction to kick him out of baseball for good?
I think it is.
Well, see, what I was just going to say is I feel like ever since, you know, the steroids became illegal in 2005, I feel a first offense should be banned. You know, I don't know how the other leagues do it.
You mean banned for good or banned for season?
For good.
That, for me, is a little extreme. But, yeah, I think the punishments need to be more. They were talking about it on Baseball Tonight. Basically, Melky Cabrera, it cost him nothing to be suspended for that season. He got a bigger contract going to the Toronto afterwards. So if you look at the money he lost and had to pay in fines and that he didn't get through
he actually made that money
he
up
actually
twice over.
made more money by taking steroids. The punishment needs to be greater. It needs to be full seasons. It needs to be, I mean, especially for me, it's the liars, the A-Rods, the Ryan Brauns, the Melky Cabreras. There needs to be stronger punishments. And teams like the Yankees, because I've heard, yes, the Yankees want to avoid A-Rod's contract, but apparently, like, he's got something in his contract where they can't. There needs to be things that are going to allow the Yankees to get out of that contract when something like this is happening.
Well, the Yankees legally, I don't think, can void his contract just off a legal grounding. Yeah, they may want to, but I think there's going to be certain things that are blocking that from happening.
Well, I think if you try to like void anybody's contract, like if the Brewers try to do it with Braun, the union is going to fight so hard.
See, and that's where these players in MLB, it's going to come to. I've heard from various sources that these names could drop in the next 2 weeks. Whether or not they get suspended in the next 2 weeks, who knows? But this is going to be caught up for a while because it's got to go through the players' union, then it's got to go to a board of appeals. It's going to be a thing where you're probably not going to know who's really taking the suspensions until probably the end of the season, if not off season.
I've heard that all the players who are on the list are already aware that they're on the list.
Yeah, Melky Cabrera knew before the All-Star game last year, and he did I guess he kind of silently went through the appeals process, and then when that was all done, that's when they went public with it. So I think probably all the players who are currently on this list know, and probably right now is when the appeal process is taking place. But you know, whether or not it's going to have to go through the players' unit, it's going to have to be caught up in this and that. It's probably going to go through a huge legal battles too, because like you guys said, there's really no actual physical evidence of them testing positive. It's just about word of mouth right now and documents.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know it's going to take a while for this to go through, but when it goes through, let's say there's 22 guys on this list. Let's say half. So 11 of these guys actually get their suspension. 11 of these guys who are, I mean, the only names I'm hearing are big names. I'm not hearing any nobodies on this list so far. And so we're saying big guys on arguably probably half the teams in baseball or a quarter of the teams in baseball. They lose them for 100 games, either the rest of this season or we're talking the beginning of next season or whatever. How much does this impact the sport of baseball?
It hurts it tremendously because essentially if players get suspended this year, the whole playoff picture is flip-flopped. Teams are going to fit. There's going to be a lot of teams that are probably going to regress. There's probably going to be a lot of teams that are going to take a major hit from this. And kind of reverting back to what you said, Josh, just a quick thing. This is all rumors. I'm not saying this is true, but there were other names that I've heard were associated with this. Both of them. One was Cano and the other one was Curtis Granderson with the Yankees. And if that's true, that's kind of a huge hit for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Well, you know, a team like Milwaukee, which is already in the toilet, is only going to go farther down the toilet without Braun. But, you know, like Johnny Peralta, the Tigers would live on without Johnny Peralta. I mean,
absolutely. But I mean, we're talking a lot of Yankees players.
Well, that's the only team that would truly be hurt more than others, because if there's, you know, 3 or 4 names. But, most teams, it could be a single player. So it's like, well, that doesn't hurt them that much unless, like I said, it's...
But, what if that single player, I know it's not going to be Bryce Harper or Mike Trout, but what if that single player is Bryce Harper or Mike Trout? We already see how Bryce Harper running into walls is affecting the Nationals. That is a big loss, even though it is only one player. There are teams where that one player is that vital to the team.
What if one of those players is somebody like Dominic Brown, who was doing nothing until this year?
Yeah,
But the thing is, I don't expect, Philadelphia to be that competitive in their division.
They are, though. They've clawed their way back. Yeah, granted, they're still 6.5 back, but they're playing some pretty terrible baseball. But all of a sudden now they've had this resurgence and they've overtaken Washington. Now they're in second in their division.
But for example, so we go to the AL East. The Yankees lose Cano, A-Rod for good, assuming, and Granderson. So we're going back to the same young team that started out really hot but has started to trail off in recent weeks. How does that affect the AL East? Because now it's no longer Boston, New York in this race for first between those two teams. Now it's just really Boston.
It's Boston, yeah.
And is there another team that does that give the Orioles a better shot?
Oh, heck yeah, it gives the Orioles a better shot. Look what Cano's doing right now.
Cano's the only, I guess, all-star on that team right now. They're playing with a bunch of nobodies and Robinson Cano. And, CC Sabathia, obviously pitching-wise they have people, but fielding, they have nobody but Cano.
And a bunch of scraps.
Yeah. So, in all the credit to the Yankees, we've done nothing but praise the Yankees this year for doing what they've been able to do with nobodies. But, you're not going to win a championship with those nobodies. The last thing with talking about drugs and the steroid policies, the MLB draft was the other day. Jonathan Gray was supposed to be the number one prospect. None of us as fans really knew a whole lot about the draft. But, if you paid really any kind of attention to baseball in the past few weeks, Jonathan Gray was like the big name coming out of the draft. He tested positive for Adderall the past few weeks, and something that most people weren't too worried about, but everyone thought the Astros were still going to take him number one. He ended up slipping all the way to number 3 just because he tested. Assuming just because he tested positive for Adderall. The drug policy is definitely hurting some players in the league. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I think the Rockies got a steal with him. I think the Astros should have still taken him. From what I've seen in the videos I watched on him, he seems like a great pitcher.
Yeah, I think personally for him, this couldn't have happened any better. You see what's going on with the Rockies this year and how well they're playing. I don't think he could have gotten any luckier. But I guess just a quick question, how does the actual positive test really affect him?
Well, what they're saying basically is Adderall helps you focus. And
I know what the drugs do, but in a sense that can he play now, or what is he going to get suspended for?
No.
The first part of the season.
No. He's not suspended at all. He's not even in trouble. Basically, what they're going to do is he'll be under a microscope going forward, and if he fucks up again, he'll get in trouble. But basically, what they're saying is he tested positive. He admitted that he took the Adderall. He claims it was not for beneficial to the game of baseball. It was for schooling. And basically they're going to look into it, see if he has a history of it or whatever. But, they're probably not going to find anything. From what I read he seems like a straight-laced guy. It was, basically he didn't know he wasn't allowed to take it. He took it. And then when you start trying out for baseball and you're a big name like he is, then you start having to pee in a cup and run around, and people want to know everything about you, take blood samples and all that, and they found out that he took Adderall, and he was basically like, oh, I didn't know I couldn't do that.
And maybe he didn't, and that's probably his fault for not knowing that, but at the same time, I guess like you said, whether it affects him or not, who really gives a damn, but I think, it might take away all of the glitz and the glamour of being the number one pick, but I don't think it really affected him because he ends up going to a better team anyways.
Absolutely.
Well, last thing that I can really just touch on for drugs, someone told me and discussed, and it was a valid argument. Players in the 50s and 60s and into the 70s were on, uppers all the time. So,
yeah, I think we all discussed that we don't really have a problem with drugs. And I was probably the most different in this conversation with saying that, I wanted people like A-Rod and Braun gone or whatever and a lot more trouble. But, I'm okay if you're going to do drugs, and I don't think the drugs should be a big deal in baseball.
Yeah,
my issue is the liars.
Well, as I think our guest put it once, everyone cheats in the game.
Absolutely. So that's why it doesn't bother.
And the good cheaters don't get caught.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I could give a damn if players are actually doing steroids because essentially everybody's doing it. It's a balance of who gets caught and who doesn't. But I mean, my thing is I just like A-Rod and Ryan Braun. It's terrible because they're lying. It brings up a whole morality issue, and that's where it gets me. I mean, I like I said, I don't really give a fuck if they really are doing the drugs. It's just about they're just being assholes and jackasses about the whole thing, and just come clean and people will forgive you. But I mean, if they're going to keep running down this road of being assholes and keep denying that it happened, especially the biggest dick on the face of the earth, which is A-Rod. But yeah, that's my stance on it. The PED suspensions looming and then the drug talk and everything was the biggest talk of the week and probably the biggest subject. But I guess the second biggest subject would be the debut of Yasiel Puig. His first week, he was 9 for 18 with 5 home runs and 10 RBIs. I guess kind of, what do you see for this guy moving forward?
I think eventually the pitchers will figure him out. I don't think they will this year, but I mean, it happens to everybody. I mean, Trout, you can argue that Trout's having a great season still, but I mean, people have figured him out. People have figured a way to get around him. I mean, Bryce Harper, he's kind of kept it going on into the second season, but I mean,
kept running in the walls, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I definitely think that I think he's phenomenal. I think he has some very bad habits that either need to get corrected or, I mean, he's not going to last very long. But
yeah, he seems very raw at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to love the way he plays. He plays, I mean, talking about the Bryce Harpers who give it 110% and I'm going to run into a wall, or I believe his quote was, I'm going to play like Evel Knievel till I can't no more or whatever. I mean, this guy's the same way. I mean, he's given 200% at all points and times and just having fun with the game. And, I mean, he's given a boost to the Dodgers. I mean, we're no longer talking about how bad the Dodgers suck and how long till Don Mattingly loses his job. Now this is all you talk about, the Dodgers. I mean, and a grand slam in his second game, 5 home runs in 6 games. He hasn't played tonight yet, so by the time this is released, I'm sure he'll have another home run at the rate he's going. Even fielding, his first game, he had that pretty phenomenal throw from right field.
He caught that ball running in right field, basically almost threw it off his back foot and threw somebody out at first running towards the fence. I mean, I saw that play today and I was blown away by it, but I guess I'm kind of on the same track as you. Yeah, it's his first week, but it's a hell of a way to come in. I mean, how much better could you ask for your first week to go? 9 of 18, 5 home runs, 10 RBIs. I mean, he's kind of revitalized the Dodgers. I mean, he really has.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to have a phenomenal first season. He's the Bryce Harper, Mike Trout of this year. I don't think anybody this year is going to figure him out.
Yeah,
next year, I think because he's so young, he plays very carelessly. There's been a couple of times where someone in shallow right field or shallow center field catches the ball, and I mean, this man's hauling ass around first base.
Yeah, and I mean, he's young, he's raw, he's going to make those mistakes. He'll figure it out. But yeah, I think we don't have enough of a sample size yet to kind of figure out what's going to happen. I had this conversation with a friend of mine earlier, and basically the talk was everybody in LA is just ranting and raving about this guy and, Puig this, Puig that. But at the same time, I think we all kind of have to pump the brakes a little bit. Yeah, he came out and just blew everybody away his first week, and he's got everybody talking about him. But at the same time, it's just his first week. I mean, I assume they'll keep him up on the roster once Kim comes back, which I guess the one thing would be who
I don't know who their standard 3 outfielders are, but it'll be Kemp, him. I heard it on baseball tonight. It's Kemp, him, and one other person. But yes, he's staying in the lineup.
I think the one person that they're going to have to look at would be Ethier. And I think he's the one guy that's in real trouble right now. But
Don Mattingly clearly isn't a huge fan of him. But cool. But I mean, bringing it all back down to reality, they're still in last place. They're still way in last place too. They're not like a game out Like, I mean, we're talking, I don't know the exact number, but we're talking games out of even the next spot. Like,
yeah, I think the last time I looked, they were like 10.5 out of first or something like that. I mean,
they're nowhere near getting to first.
I think right now that's not really the big issue. The big issue is, I mean, it's putting people in the seats again. When they sold a bunch of season tickets, people were jazzed about the team. They picked up, Carl Crawford, Gonzalez, all the big name guys who came to the team, and then they fell flat the first couple of weeks in the season and remained to stay there. But I think Puig coming in will put some people in the seats that want to see him playing, and I think right now that's probably the bigger impact for the Dodgers. They're just going to have people come out to see him, which people are going to buy his jerseys, they're going to buy hats. It's going to add to more revenue for the Dodgers, which is a good thing in their eyes. So they're going to keep him up regardless of how well or how bad he's playing. But I guess for a first week, you couldn't ask for a better start.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's had a phenomenal first week. I don't think he's going to cool off. I think he'll continue. But I mean, the fact is the Dodgers still suck.
Oh, yeah. I think he'll cool off eventually, but I don't think it'll be as big of a cool down as a lot of people will see. Because like you said, I mean, he's got a style that has been, I guess by a lot of people, has been compared to Bo Jackson and how hard Bo Jackson played.
Yeah.
And kind of just his athletic prowess and what he does. But like you said, it's still the Dodgers and they still suck.
Absolutely. I mean, the Dodgers are out there in the NL West, and the NL West overall is a really competitive division. I mean, the Diamondbacks are surprising everybody, but Paul Goldschmidt's been amazing. Some people are even calling for him as MVP.
Yeah, I agree with him. I mean, Goldschmidt's been out of his mind right now. He's hitting .332 with 223 at bats. I mean, he's got 74 hits, 15 home runs, and 57 RBIs. So, I mean, for a young guy, he's having a hell of a season.
Yeah, I mean,
really saw him coming. Nobody.
No, and I mean, he's had a great season, but if Puig continues this way, Puig will be the MVP of the National League.
No, he won't. Not if they finish dead last and don't make the playoffs.
I think he still stands a chance. This is what baseball likes. This is why Trout was still in the MVP talk last year. Baseball likes these young guys. They don't have the LeBron Jameses that the basketball world does, or the RG3s that the football world does, or the Ovechkins that the hockey world does. They don't have that. I mean, they have the older guys like A-Rod, but nobody. I mean, even Yankees fans don't like A-Rod anymore. So, I mean, they don't have that. They like these stories, and it makes them more enjoyable to the mass crowds. And I mean, I think that's something that you'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, but I don't know. I just think that right now, I guess we'll see how the rest of the season plays off. I'm not willing to make the MVP talk after five games, basically.
That's why I said if he keeps it up that way. Staying in the NL West, not massive news, but Tim Lincecum basically has said that he's willing to move to the bullpen. In the past, he's been kind of hesitant to do this. He kind of almost basically sat out all of last year because he was against it, and they had a contract with him. So he basically sat the bench with Brian Wilson last year and did whatever they do in the bullpen, fuck around and make jokes with each other, because that's what you do if you're a San Francisco Giant. But I mean,
Tim Lincecum, the freak. I mean, I don't know. He was an anomaly at one time, but I guess this is who Tim Lincecum is. I mean, do you throw away the first couple of seasons that he had were really successful, and maybe this is who he is? He can't find his pitch. He can't find his mechanics. He's not consistent. I mean,
no, I would like to see him on a different team.
I guess I don't really care where he's at. I mean, I think he's going to stay in San Francisco just because he's a household name, although right now it probably might be a better option for him to leave to get a fresh start and maybe find a new way somewhere else. But at the same time, I think the bullpen is only his choice, and it's his last choice. Because he's shown in the last 2 years that he can't hack it as a starting pitcher right now.
He still wants to play.
I don't doubt that he still can play. Yeah. I think that he still can play. It's just something's obviously wrong, and I think a lot of it's mental.
I'd like to see him go to a different team. I mean, I don't think that he has the stuff, quote unquote, anymore. But I think that Tim Lincecum's going to be a closer or even a single inning relief pitcher. I mean,
yeah, they used him in middle relief a lot last year during the playoffs and down into the stretch run for the World Series. But I think, like I said, his last chance really is the bullpen, and if he's going to do something, that's where he's got to do it.
I think he could be a fifth starter, or some of these teams who are running six starters.
I don't even know if he can do that. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
he's been so inconsistent that I'm not even willing to throw him out there.
I would on maybe not on an all-star team, maybe not someone like the Tigers or something like that, but I mean, I would do it on like the Astros or the Rockies or something like that. Some of these teams who don't have all-star pitching or anything like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Yeah, and maybe. I guess that tale is yet to be written.
Yeah.
But I guess for him right now, I think staying with the key issue is just he just needs to kind of look inside of him and do what's best for him, whether that's conceding the fact that, yeah, maybe I'm not a number 1, number 2, or even a number 3. He may be a number 4, number 5, but I guess the bigger issue is what's he going to do from here on? I mean, is he going to continue to struggle, or is he going to move on, find it somewhere else? Or, I mean, every now and then you see those flashes of the old Tim Lincecum where it's like he can strike you out with any number of pitches or any pitch at some time, and then the very next batter it's new Tim Lincecum where it's like he just can't hit it. He can't hit a target. He can't hit a pitch. He can't get anybody out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, his inconsistencies, I don't know.
All right. I'd like to interrupt this part of the show. If you follow us online, basically you see that we have started a contest of sorts. Basically, we're going to give keywords in every episode from now until about week 14. You take those keywords, you go to our website, woodwithandle.es/contest, woodwithandle/contest, and you enter in the keyword and you get entered basically for a contest to win free tickets to any Major League Baseball or minor league baseball game of your choice. All you have to do is enter the keywords every week online and also like us on Facebook and you're entered. So it's pretty simple. You don't really have to do much at all. You have to listen to our podcast. So if you're currently doing it right now, you're doing it right. And go like us on Facebook and we will get you your free tickets. Facebook.com/woodwithandles. This week's keyword is Dodgers. Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Okay, moving on to our next topic. Phillies, Dominic Brown. He started off the season all right, but his basically last 15 games has been lights out.
Dominic Brown, I mean, like you said, lights out. 11 home runs in the last 15 games, 18 overall. We just kind of hit on it with Puig kind of giving the Dodgers a little bit of a shot in the ass. Dominic Brown's been the same thing.
Dominic Brown's been a legit shot in the ass, though. Like I said, the Dodgers still suck. The Phillies don't suck anymore.
No, the Phillies have been playing really well for, I would say, the better half of a month and a half now.
The Phillies went from last to second in arguably the hardest division in baseball, or one of the harder divisions in baseball.
Yeah, I mean they've come from all the way back there and damn near dead last as far as 2 months ago, but now they're I think a game over 500, or else they might be right at 500. Granted, they're still 6.5 back of Atlanta, but I mean Dominic Brown, this guy's been absolutely for real, and he's been as good as advertised so far.
How long till it stops?
I don't know. I would think that he might be for real. I don't really know if I can see it stopping. I mean, obviously 11 home runs in 15 games is a pretty torrid pace. But, I mean, the way he's been doing it, he's just been doing it so effortlessly. Like you said, maybe he's one of those guys that he comes out of nowhere. People don't really know who he is. They don't really have a huge sample size on him. So maybe this continues for quite a while. But we'll see. I like him. I like the way he swings. I like the way he plays. And we've seen what's happened, the decline of Ryan Howard. Maybe he's their new Ryan Howard.
Well, I agree with some and I disagree with others. I love the way he plays. He's fun to watch, blah, 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 blah. But unlike Puig, where I said I don't think anybody's going to figure him out this year, I think Dominic Brown's got about another month, maybe 2 months.
All-star break.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to last. He's older. He's never done this before. I mean, he's always been decent, but I mean, this isn't going to last.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to tell because, I mean, like you said with Mike Trout last year, I mean, obviously he never cooled down, and we said we don't know if Puig's going to. But is this? I don't really know because I've never really had anything to go on with this guy. So yeah. I don't know. Obviously, he's been in the league for some time, but I've never paid attention until now.
Yeah, I think it's a fluke. I don't think it'll last. I think he is. I mean, I can't really go any more than just saying that. Bravo for him. He's really kind of given a shot in the ass to the Phillies, but I don't know if he lasts and he makes it. Good for him.
Right now, at this very moment today, would you put him in the MVP race?
No.
No. I would, just because I mean, look what he's done for the team.
Is he the most valuable player on their team?
Yes, right now he is. Absolutely. Oh. I think he's added a spark. He's added the charge. I mean, he's given that team life when there was none.
But Cliff Lee's also been pitching way better.
Yeah, but it's Cliff Lee. I mean, that's what Cliff Lee does. Dominic Brown came out of nowhere.
So you have to come out of nowhere to be...
No, not necessarily. I think what Dominic Brown is doing right now is essentially propelled his team into second in that division. I mean, would they be doing it without him? Maybe, but would they? I think they're better off with him right now than they are without him.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
I mean, and exactly, is that MVP talk for you right there? If they're better with him than without him,
I just think there's better players.
Well, you know.
I mean, sure, you can say he's in the talk, but in my eyes, he stands no chance.
But isn't Halladay still in the DL?
Yeah, he sucks though.
Yeah,
he ain't gonna fucking help him when he gets back. I mean, even going down to Evan Gattis, I mean, he didn't even start for Atlanta, but he's better than Dominic Brown.
You think so?
Yeah. Evan Gattis, to me, is one of the most impressive players in all of baseball.
Oh, come on. I don't think so.
I feel bad for him because, I mean, it's not his fault that he's not getting used in Atlanta. And I think Atlanta, off the top of my head, I cannot think of their catcher's name, but I think they're going to trade their catcher as soon as the season's over and just use Gattis because, I mean, he can clearly hit. He can play multiple positions. I mean, but he's sitting on the bench because they just don't have room for him.
Yeah, I don't kind of mean to get off track, but for a team that's way up, I think Atlanta has a lot of issues they've got to get worked out before they can go any farther.
Absolutely.
And I think Gattis is probably one of those issues.
Yeah, but I mean, Dominic Brown's really great. I wouldn't take that away from him. I kind of feel like I do about Miguel Cabrera. Bravo. And I'm not saying he's Miguel Cabrera. I'm just saying the way I feel about Miguel Cabrera. You're doing good. I wouldn't take that away from you. But the facts are there's better people.
Yeah, and you're probably right. But at this time, I don't think you can not have him in the MVP discussion. And obviously we have a really, really, really long time left in the season. We have a lot of games left to be played. But for me right now, I mean, I would put him up in the MVP race with Goldschmidt. Honestly.
Yeah. Speaking of teams who aren't MVPs whatsoever, the White Sox and the Mariners played quite the doozy the other day. It was, not the longest game ever. It was only a 16-inning game. Broke quite a few records.
One of the strangest games ever.
Yeah. Broke quite a few records for how they scored, I should say, or how it was played out, I should say. They went into extra innings. It was 0-0. They ended up going to the 13th inning with no score, and then the 14th inning, the White Sox scored 5 runs. Bottom of the 14th, the Mariners scored a run, and then hit a grand slam. And then we went to the 15th. No score, nobody scored. Then we went to the 16th, and the White Sox scored 2 runs, and it was over at that point. White Sox ended up using all their pitchers, including Addison Reed, who is, I believe, still the second most saves in all of baseball. And
they brought him out for 2 innings, didn't they? And that's when they hit that grand slam?
He pitched 3 innings. They did hit the grand slam off of him. He pitched 3 innings, 55 pitches. To my knowledge, his longest out.
And I believe he got the win, didn't he? He got the win for that one.
He did get the win because he was pitching when they came back and won.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, they broke a bunch of records for, first grand slam hit in the 14th inning after being down 5-0. I mean, that's a really obscure stat, but, they also broke the record for, scoring 10 runs, or the most runs scored, which was 10 after being 0-0, 13 innings, or some crazy shit like that. I mean, it's not just the White Sox, but Texas and Toronto went 18 innings. The Marlins and Mets today went 20 innings. And I mean, that's not it. We had the Royals and Cardinals a couple weeks ago. They went till 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was. I mean, this has been a growing trend in baseball with these teams, with a lot of teams going massive innings, especially after scoring very little runs. We're not seeing 9-9 ties go to the 20th inning. We're seeing 1-1, 0-0, go to the 17th inning.
Yeah, these games are odd in themselves. I mean, if there's a game that goes 16, 18, 20 innings, obviously it goes that distance for a reason, whether it's you're getting either great pitching or very little production out of your hitters. I don't know, but I don't know. This has been more of a trend over the last couple of years, and hopefully, I don't know. I mean, 20 innings is a lot of innings today.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously you got to let them finish, but I don't know why we're seeing this. I would assume it's because pitchers have gotten better. I don't know, but like the whole feel of those games is just really odd, especially that White Sox Mariners games where it's 0-0 through 13 innings, and all of a sudden you have this offensive explosion. A team scores 5 runs in the top, and then the home team, which was the Mariners, comes back and scores 5 runs in the bottom, including a grand slam to tie it. I mean, that game was probably one of the most odd games I can ever recall hearing about. Ever.
Yeah, it didn't play out very normal either. I mean, there was just odd things. There was in the beginning of the game, the Mariners arguably probably should have scored a run, but Alex Rios threw forgot who it was. He threw him out from outfield, and Jimenez was blocking the bag or the home plate, and I mean there was a lot of odd things that happened that game. We were pitching, by we I mean the White Sox were pitching with Dylan Axelrod, who is our third starter. Arguably should be in the minor leagues, but we've had so many injuries that he's somehow made it, and he's like our second or third starter at this point. He pitched a phenomenal game, but we were pitching against, I can't pronounce the guy's name, but I believe it's Iwakuma, which is their number 2 guy in Seattle, and he's a phenomenal pitcher himself, and it was a weird game.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably, like I said, that's probably one of the most odd games I'm ever hearing about. But, I mean, the game today, the 20-inning game between the Mets and the Marlins, that was probably just like watching a very, very slow death with a baseball game, because I mean there was only 3 runs scored, and every time there was a run scored it was like 3 or 4 innings between runs. So I think the first run was scored in the first or second inning by the Mets, and then the Marlins came back and scored in the 4th, and then there was no runs scored again until the 20th inning. I mean, that I don't know which way to take that.
Yeah,
it's definitely very odd.
Yeah, that's not how the game should be played.
Yeah, and I mean, once again, 20 innings, that's 2 whole games worth of innings. I mean, what do you do with pitchers? I mean, what do you do with position players? Do you run out? Especially if you got to come back and play early the next day, I mean, how do you handle that game as a manager?
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. They played more than 2 whole games. I mean, they played to the 20th. They started their 3rd game. I mean, yeah, if I was a manager, I'd let all my position players stay until, I mean, obviously if there comes a point when you're older guys, you're going to have to let them rest. But, I mean, I let them stay the whole time. And
let me ask you maybe a really dumb question. Maybe it's not so dumb in the context. At some point, does one of these teams essentially just concede and start throwing position players out there to just get the game over with?
You mean position players to pitch?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
run out of pitchers or you save pitchers? Because obviously you can't.
You run out of pitchers. Last year it happened with the White Sox. Dwayne Wise, who was our outfielder, he pitched like 2 innings. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
You try to save, though. I mean, at some point in time, you realize that this isn't ending anytime soon.
Yeah.
And then you let, like, for the White Sox, for example, Addison Reed was out there, gave up a grand slam, and you let him continue to play.
Right. I mean, the Marlins and the Mets, you didn't get a sense that when you were watching this game, hey, this was going to really end anytime soon. So, I mean, I guess coming from a manager, I mean, you just start. If it were me, I'd just start throwing position players out there to pitch. It just, in a sense, it's one game. Maybe in the big picture, one game can mean a lot. But in the sense of the bigger picture, I mean, do you just kind of to get the game over?
For some teams, it's just one game.
Yeah.
But for a lot of teams, it's not just one game.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for the Mets, it's a little bit bigger than the Marlins.
The White Sox were on a 9-game losing streak. That win. Well, I shouldn't say that win.
Yeah, but you think and you're just, I guess, yeah, maybe it propels the White Sox a little bit, and you still think that the White Sox are. You said you'd make an argument that they're the worst team in the league.
I think the White Sox.
But I mean, does that propel them on? I guess a little. Does it give them a spark?
Well, it didn't.
They won today.
That doesn't mean shit. They've won 2 of their last 12.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
so they're still shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're like a billion games out of first place. I mean, no, yes, in theory it propels, but not that team. Speaking of people who have been kind of out of characterly good, R.A. Dickey had his first good game since coming to Toronto. I mean, he pitched a really phenomenal game.
Yeah, R.A. Dickey, I was never really quite sold on him.
Me neither.
I think as a knuckleball pitcher, I don't think how you can ever be sold on one person.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess what it is essentially what it is. He won a Cy Young last year. And I mean, maybe it's moving from NL to AL and trying to figure out leagues and adjusting from being outside to being in a dome, playing in Toronto.
That's all bullshit.
It could be a number of things, but like you said, maybe it's just a bunch of bullshit. Because essentially pitching is pitching. But
that's what you get paid to do. Do your job. And I mean, he sucked.
They gave him a pretty hefty contract and made him their ace of the rotation. I think for 1 year,
big money to suck ass.
Yeah, that was a lot of money to throw at a guy for essentially having one great season.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about him before, but I mean, does this? I guess I don't want to talk about the past because, I mean, we've all talked about it on the show before. We don't think he's that good and he's overpaid, blah, 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 blah. But does this turn things around? Do we see last year's R.A. Dickey after this one start, or was it just he happened to have one good start?
I think there's been signs that he's coming back to life, but in the bigger picture, I don't think it matters because I think the Blue Jays still suck. So, I mean, you can run him out there. You can run Dickey out there. He's 5-7 right now, but I don't think it means anything right now. I mean, maybe personally he builds off of it, and maybe it's better for the team. But right now, I don't see it happening. I think he's a one-hit wonder. Yeah, and he's a very expensive one-hit wonder.
Yeah, but I mean, Toronto's that team. That's what they did. They tried to do the Dodgers, Angels, Yankees route. And it backfired, just like it backfired for everyone else except for the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, and I got the box score here, and he was really good. He actually went 8 1/3, only gave up 2 hits, no runs, no earned runs.
I mean, he
2 walks and 5 strikeouts. But I
watched the highlight from the day. I mean, he looked good too.
Yeah, I mean, he had the makings of a Cy Young pitcher. I mean, for that one game, but. Does it, in the bigger picture, does it mean anything? Who knows?
I agree. I don't think it changes much.
Yeah, I've been saying it all year. I think he's just a really expensive one-hit wonder. That's our show for the week. We'd like to thank everybody for listening.
You can find us online on Twitter at WoodWithHandles, on Facebook.com/WoodWithHandles. Find us on iTunes by searching Wood With Handles, and find us at our website at woodwithhandle.es.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Josh.
I'm Carl. Keep legging out those triples, Ox.